Welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhoades, and I'm here to get you started on Unit 26, the air pattern. Please take a second to gather your materials. You will need this blue book open to page 161. You will also need some colorful pens, markers, or crayons. Remember, whatever I mark on my board, you should be marking on your page. Please save room for a key as well. If at any point I'm moving too fast, please pause the video and catch up. All right, so you will notice that I already went ahead and broke our words into syllables using that blue vertical line, and I used purple check marks to mark the stressed syllable. All of our words this week are stressed in the first syllable, which means we say that part of the word a little bit louder and stronger. If you would like to pause the video to add your own syllable breaks and marks, you may do that now. So we have spent several weeks now talking about R-controlled vowels. We know that when a vowel is followed by R, it comes up with a new sound. It is no longer a long vowel or a short vowel. So for instance, AR usually says R, as in car. OR usually says or, as in for. ER, IR, and UR usually say as in her, or bird, or curl. Now, it gets a little confusing when we talk about two-syllable words because an AR or an OR at the end of an unstressed syllable will take on that sound. We notice that in words like alter or author. But I told you before that ER was easy because ER always says whether it's in the stressed or unstressed syllable. Well, now I have to tell you something different because most of our words this week contain ER. But this week the ER is going to make an air sound. We are going to make the air sound this week using ER, UR, and AR. So, just when you think you have the English language figured out, you get some more exceptions. But we can handle this. Let's start by reading our list. Please repeat after me. Berry, berry, cherish, cherry, errand, error, ferry, merit, marry, parents, peril, parish, sheriff, sterile, terror. Notice the first syllable of every word had that air sound. Let's choose a marker, and I first want to look for the words that use ER to make that air sound. We see that in berry. We see that in cherish. We see that in cherry, errand, error, ferry, merit, marry, peril, parish, sheriff, sterile, and terror. In all of these words, we are using ER to make the air sound. So green box equals ER, and that's going to make an air sound. Now here's the tricky part. Sometimes when we use ER, it's followed by a second R. Berry, cherry, errand, error. Sometimes we use two R's and we slice our syllables right between them. But sometimes we only use one R. Cherish, merit, peril. Why is that? Why do we sometimes use two R's and sometimes use one and make the same exact sound. Cherish, cherry. I don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry. This is just something we have to memorize. We just have to notice whether our word has 2 R's or 1. It's not going to affect the sound of the word at all. Okay, another pattern we're using this week, which is not common, is the UR in berry. This is the kind of berry that we eat. That's a fruit. This kind of berry is a verb. This was a noun. This is a verb. This kind of berry means to put in the dirt. So we bury people in the cemetery. Your dog might bury a bone in the backyard. That UR is making the air sound. I can't really think of any other examples in our language that use that UR to make the air sound, except for words like burial, right? Bury, burial. That's about all I could come up with. Buried. So don't spend a lot of time on this one. Just remember how to spell it in this situation. Okay? Pink box equals UR. But instead of making the usual sound, UR is going to say air. Okay? Lots of examples of ER making that air sound. Very few examples of UR. The third pattern that we're going to talk about is AR in parents. That looks kind of weird, right? Because you would think that PAR would say par, but it doesn't here. It makes the air sound. So orange box equals AR, but that's also making the air sound. Now this is a little more common. You see it in words like carry, marry, barrel, carol. Okay, so you do have examples. Now what's crazy is just like the ER, sometimes we're going to put 2 R's in there, like carry, and sometimes we're going to use 1 R in words like carol. So just watch out for that. Okay, so that's our main focus this week. The next thing I want to talk about are homophones, because we have a lot of homophones this week. Remember, homophones are 2 or more words that sound the same but are spelled differently and have different meanings. So we already talked about berry and berry. I'm going to underline those to remind myself that they're homophones. But we also see a homophone here. This kind of ferry is a noun. It's a boat that takes people back and forth. So if you are on Cape Cod and you want to go visit Martha's Vineyard, which is an island, the only way to get there is to take a ferry. There is a boat that will take you and maybe even your car from the mainland to the island. So a ferry is a boat that carries passengers. Okay? It's not like a cruise ship or a boat that's carrying freight from one country to another. Its job is to carry passengers from one place to another. But there's another kind of ferry like this. That's the kind of ferry you see in fairy tales, right? The cute little pixies with the pretty dresses and the wings. All right. Mary is also a homophone. This kind of Mary is a describing word, and it means joyful. So if somebody wishes you a Merry Christmas, they're wishing you a joyful Christmas. They want you to have a happy holiday. But there's also this kind of Merry. When 2 people decide they want to spend their life together and they have a wedding, they marry each other. Okay. Perish is another homophone. Perish is a verb. It means to die. Okay, so all living things perish at some point, right? We talk about food being perishable. Anything that has to stay in your refrigerator, meats, cheeses, milk, it's perishable, which means if you leave it out on the counter, it will die. It will go bad or spoil. Okay, so to perish is to die, or if we're talking about food, spoil. But there's another kind of perish that's spelled like this. This is what some people call their local church. I belong to the St. Bernard's parish, or I belong to a different parish. Okay, so a parish is just a name for a group of people that go to the same church. I think I found all of those. So over here, purple line equals homophone. Okay, I do want to talk about some Greek and Latin roots, but before I do, let's finish talking about our vocabulary. So our next word is cherish. That is a verb. If you cherish something, you treasure it. So parents treasure their children, right? They love them, they want to keep them safe, but you might also cherish a special letter that your grandmother wrote you, or a piece of jewelry, or something that was passed down by your father or your grandfather. So if it is an item you cherish, it is special to you and you treasure it. Cherry is a fruit. It can also be used as an adjective if you're talking about like a cherry drink or a cherry pie or a cherry candy. That would be describing it. An errand is a noun. That's a chore. It's a chore that you have to do outside of the house. So if you have to run to the grocery store, and then you have to pick up some medicine, and then you have to get your oil changed, those are all errands. Those are all tasks that you have to do. Okay. An error, that's a noun. An error is a mistake. So if you're adding up all the money in your wallet and you come up with the wrong total, you say that you have $42 and you really have $38, you have made an error. We talked about a ferry. Merit, that's a noun. It can also be used as an adjective or a verb, actually, right? If someone, like if you think about a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout and they earn a merit badge, that's being used as an adjective. It's something that you earned, right? If you merit something, you earn it or deserve it. So to merit something is to earn or deserve it. When kids apply to colleges are really expensive, right? But if you get good grades in high school and you do well on your exams, you might earn some merit scholarships. The college will give you money towards your tuition because you have earned it. You have shown that you deserve it by working hard at school. We talked about Mary. I think you know what parents are. Peril is danger. Maybe you've heard of the word perilous. If somebody goes on a perilous journey, like they're going to climb up Mount Everest, or they're going to travel across country in the middle of a snowstorm, those would be perilous activities. So peril is danger. If someone's in peril, they are in danger. We talked about parish. A sheriff. That's like the head of the police department. Usually small towns or counties have a sheriff. If they don't have maybe they don't have a lot of people living there, so they don't need a big bustling police department, but they will have a sheriff who oversees the town. So a sheriff, I'm just going to write police officer, maybe head police officer, because that's the person in charge. If something is sterile, it has no germs. if you watch a hospital show and you see the doctor performing surgery and she's wearing a gown and gloves and a cap, everything is sterile. All of the equipment that she's going to use on the patient is sterile. There are no germs because you need to make sure that you don't transfer any of the germs into the person to make them worse, right? When parents have a little baby and they want to give the baby a bottle, they will often sterilize the bottle, sterilize the nipple, make sure it's as clean as possible. And then the last word is terror. Terror is extreme fright. If you're really, really scared, if you're terrified, you are full of terror. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is a Greek root, and you're going to find it on page 164. The Greek root is PERI, P-E-R-I. Whenever you see PERI at the beginning of a word, it has something to do with around. Okay, so here's a word that I bet you guys know. There's PERI, that means around, and here's meter. Anytime you see meter, it has something to do with measuring. Measure around. Perimeter, right? When you put PERI and meter together, you get perimeter. When you're measuring the perimeter of the room, you're measuring the distance around the edges. I bet you guys have learned about that in math class. If you've ever seen a submarine that goes deep down into the water, it might have a periscope that sticks out and can look all the way around to see what's above the water surface. When you go to the dentist, they're going to do a periodontal exam. They're going to check all around your mouth, not just your teeth, but your gums, your tongue, the inside of your cheek, to make sure that is all healthy. So when you get to this page, you're going to see words like perimeter, periodontal, periscope, also peripheral. Have you heard about peripheral vision? Right now I'm looking at you, but I can kind of see what's happening around me because of my peripheral vision. So you're going to think about that PERI root. I put it in here because that P-E-R-I kind of fits with lots of these other words, although peril and perish come from a different root. They have nothing to do with around. You're also going to be thinking about the Latin root circ, C-I-R-C, which means ring. Think of a circle or circumference. And you're going to be thinking about circum, which means around. So when you get to this page, here's your word bank. Think about what these words mean and how they tie in to circles and going around, and then fill the blanks in with those. All right. I think that's all I have for you guys today. So good luck, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.